Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for tuning in. I am going to be sharing my journey with postpartum shedding, postpartum hair loss. If this is something that you are currently struggling with or that you are worried about, in case you are expecting and you're worried that you're going to be experiencing hair loss after birth, stay tuned. I'm going to be sharing 3 things that I did to stop postpartum hair loss. Okay, so before I get into it, just a quick sort of recap as to what happened after my first pregnancy. While I was pregnant, my hair, it was like much more voluminous. My hair at the time was like down to like bra strap length, like right at like middle of the back kind of situation. At that point, I was exclusively a natural hair blogger, so my hair was my everything. It was everything. And I had maybe heard about postpartum hair loss maybe once or twice before then. Something else that a lot of women don't talk about, a lot of articles, a lot of content in general don't really focus on this sort of aftermath of pregnancy, but it's so common. A lot of women across like racial groups experience some kind of hair loss. And the thing is, it's one of those things that you don't even know. You have no idea if this is going to affect you until it's actually happening. So with Kai, I'd say about 4 months or so into my postpartum recovery period, that's when I started noticing my hairline was starting to recede. I'd never really had issues with my hairline before then. Maybe about 5 months in, I was in the shower having a wash day. It was taking me hours to detangle my hair. I think just that and my hairline, my hair itself, it was starting to come out in clumps. It's like I was just so overwhelmed with everything. I was overwhelmed with new motherhood, trying to get back to work at that time as well. Also still being, a blogger in the natural hair space. So there were a lot of things that were part of my decision to be like, you know what, I just can't have something else that I have to focus on, because I knew that if I wanted to keep my hair, I was going to have to give it more TLC. So I cut it all off. I cut it into like a taper cut, which at that point was, this was like 5 years ago. It wasn't really a thing, especially here in South Africa, especially with the natural hair movement like blowing up at that time. And so many people looked up to me with this big hair, this long hair that was like, I was growing it for all these years. It was just the best decision that I could make at the time, because the idea of having to take care of a new baby and having to figure out my life after, having a child and I was just like, I just can't. It's just going to be too much for me now to also focus on keeping my hair. So I cut it all off. At that point, it was the best decision I could have made, but it is something that I did feel like I didn't really know of what options I had before then. So I was kind of limited in my knowledge. And so with Kenzo this time around, I think my hair at that point before I had him was also, quite long. Like I'd say maybe about shoulder length, maybe. I'm not quite sure. But I definitely noticed also during pregnancy, my hair, even my sisters were just like, my gosh, what's happening with your hair? It was just like full, it was like full head of hair. I just thought, you know what, let me try. I'm never too scared to cut my hair because I know hair grows. But this time around, I was just like, let me just try something different. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. At least I can say that I tried. I think it was about month 5. My hairline was starting to thin a little bit. That's when I was just like, okay, before it gets to the clumps of hair falling out sort of stage of things, let me try these things, So these are some of the, I would say the 3 key things that I did differently this time around to stop postpartum hair loss. I carried on taking my vitamins. After Kai, I kind of stopped taking my pregnancy vitamins pretty much off the bat. I carried on taking them for maybe a month or 2, and then I stopped. Honestly, because I didn't know that it was important to carry on taking them. For me, I'm like, I'm not pregnant anymore. I'm not gonna take them. This time around with Kenzo, I carried on taking them. Some women did sort of come to, give me that advice of keep taking your pregnancy vitamins. They're really important, especially if you are breastfeeding. They also help with your hair loss. So that's something that I didn't know before. So these are called Pregnavit M. These are available at Discam. I'm pretty sure you can get them at Clicks. But yeah, it's just, the normal regular pregnancy vitamins that have extra vitamin B and extra vitamin D and folic acid and all of that stuff. So I kept taking those pretty much every day as I was taking them when I was pregnant. So that was definitely helping me with all of the just sort of like replenishing all of these nutrients that get lost, not just during pregnancy, but after pregnancy, especially if you're breastfeeding and just your postpartum sort of recovery period in general. So then the second thing I've done differently is that I've kept my hair in very, very low manipulation hairstyles. I know a lot of people know me still as, the 30 days, 30 updos hair challenge. I was very, very diligent this time around to not keep restyling my hair. First of all, these days I don't have the time, so check out my latest natural hair routine for busy moms. By the way, this is for me, I'm if you don't have time, you don't have energy, you just don't have the capacity. I have I'd say maybe 3 or 4 sort of go-to hairstyles that I put my hair in after wash day. So wash day, I wash my hair every other week. And then I put my hair into this style that's something that's that's gonna last me at least a week. If it can last me about 2 weeks without me having to really do much to it, even better. I've spoken to some women and I've suggested, these hairstyles and stuff like that. If you have shorter hair, for example, and you can't do roll, tuck, and pin kind of styles and stuff, you can always just buy a wig or 2. Wigs are amazing when it comes to protecting your hair. For whatever reason, you are protecting your hair. So that for me is also that was my other option. I was either going to just keep my own hair in sort of low manipulation styles, or I was going to do wigs. Just the thing that with wigs though, especially because the hairline at this point with postpartum hair loss and stuff like that is really, really tricky and delicate, just make sure you're not wearing any wigs that pull on your hairline. Or if you're not doing wigs and you want to do another style, just please make sure at any time, actually, you shouldn't be putting styles in your hair that pull your hairline. Those styles that are that pull the skin here. To avoid those at all costs. All of those kinds of braids, weaves, cornrows, wigs with glue and stuff like that, avoid those kinds of things, because you basically have to kind of treat your hair very, very gently. So speaking of gentle, this is the last sort of key thing that I've done to stop postpartum hair shedding, and that is being gentle on my hair. I sort of just sort of rejigged my routine, rejigged the way I handle my hair so that I could keep in mind that right now it's in a really fragile state and it needs a little bit of extra TLC, so again, it's the low manipulation hairstyles. The kinds of products that I use on my hair, I'm looking out for things that are a little bit more, gentle. The ingredients themselves are not very harsh, low sulfates. Those kinds of ingredients, ingredient lists are really, really key, so that I'm just not overloading my hair with too many harsh things. And then just also from a physical perspective, I actually don't comb my hair as often as I used to. I would be much more diligent about detangling with my fingers first and then combing, if at all. So even though I have my wash day every 2 weeks, I'm much more sort of careful during the wash day. That's the time when I'm just okay, I tell my family, I tell my husband and my kids, I'm out for the next couple of hours, and I just really want to just make sure that I'm removing the knots, detangling, moisturizing, and I'm sealing the moisture and all of that stuff. And when I put in that time on that actual wash day, the next 2 weeks I'm not really doing much except obviously wrapping my hair at night, spraying it every day to keep it moist, sealing that moisture, and that's basically it. I am now 15 months postpartum. I started noticing that my hairline sort of stopped kind of thinning out about 11 months. It's still not 100%. It is still a little bit, shorter than the rest of it, but at least the rest of my hair is intact. And so I think this is something that, I'm recovering from. Sometimes it takes a while for you to see that the changes are actually working and stuff. So I'll just encourage you to just keep at it. And again, if it's just too much, you can always slap on a wig. The wigs these days especially are just so gorgeous, they're so beautiful, and it's just nice to change it up every once in a while anyways. It can be a lot. We're dealing with a lot of changes in our bodies after we have babies. Our hair shouldn't be such a chore, over and above everything else that we have to do. So just try and keep it simple, try and keep it, something that makes sense with your new lifestyle, whatever that is. But I also know that from a beauty point of view, it can really get you down if you don't feel like you're looking cute, you know? I get that as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you found it helpful. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. Share it with a woman in your life, especially one who is maybe currently expecting or it has just had a baby and not quite sure what she should do with her hair. And yeah, please follow me on my social media platforms. Watch some of my other videos while you're here. And leave a comment. Let me know if postpartum hair shedding is something that you've experienced. If you did, how did you, sort of avoid it, if you could. And if you can just give any more tips other than the ones that I've shared with you. What worked? What didn't work? What would you do the next time? Do let me know if you have any other questions. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.